In this unit, we're going to cover advertising, the process of exporting motor vehicles, sales to minors, off-site sales, emissions, and out-of-state VIN inspections. Advertising. The following advertising regulations are going to apply to you whether you're advertising in print media such as a newspaper, radio, television, and all forms of internet advertising, including if you have vehicles posted on your own website. And they are based on Federal Trade Commission advertising standards, which are applicable to all dealers in New Mexico. Deceptive advertising is never allowed under any circumstances. So here's some examples of deceptive advertising. The use of inaccurate photographs when advertising specific vehicles is deceptive. You can't run an ad in your local newspaper that shows a beautiful brand new Cadillac Escalade for $5,000 and the vehicle that you have for sale on the lot is like a dented up 1996 Chevy Tahoe. So you can't ever run deceptive photographs. They have to be accurate. You can't run any type of ads that have unexplained abbreviations that are not readily understood. So like we in the industry, we understand WAC stands for with approved credit, but some folks in the general public may not be aware of that. So you can never use unexplained abbreviations that can be confusing to the general public. The use of terms such as specially selected or valued customers or other similar terms is deceptive if the consumer has not been specifically targeted with that advertisement. It's deceptive to use one or more asterisks in which disclaimers confuse or contradict the message of the original advertisement, or falsely implying that a dealer can sell vehicles at lower prices than other dealers because of your size, inventory, or sales volume. That is unfair and deceptive. The use of liquidation sale or closing sale or going out of business sale or other terms that are used to create the impression that a business is going to cease after that sale. I have seen dealers that run a going out of business sale every 2 or 3 months. Obviously, that is against the law. So I hope that is a sale that you never have to run, and don't ever run a going out of business sale. In fact, unless you are going to close. You can't advertise repossession sales, unless every single vehicle in that sale was obtained through repossession and seizure. So please keep that in mind. It's very deceptive for a dealer to offer a vehicle at a specific price and fail to make that vehicle available for sale. If an advertised vehicle is not in stock, the advertisement must specify that that vehicle is not in stock. An advertisement that fails to disclose the duration of a limited time offer. So if you're ever going to run or advertise a sale, you need to have the beginning date of the sale and the end date of the sale in that ad, so sales prices and their dates are never confusing to the customer. You can never use the term lowest prices or guaranteed lowest prices or prices lower than anyone else's, because those terms are deceptive unless they can be substantiated, which is very, very difficult to do. Comparing an offering price to the dealer's cost or the actual cost or similar terms is inherently deceptive, and it's very, very difficult to determine the dealer's actual net cost. So the Federal Trade Commission is very clear. They do not want you to run an ad that says at or below dealer's cost. You can also never use the term certified in connection with the sale of a used motor vehicle unless the manufacturer has an established inspection program for those pre-owned vehicles. And normally a certified vehicle is going to be something that's sold at a franchisor like ABC Chevrolet or XYZ Toyota. And they have to meet their manufacturer standards. So please keep that in mind. I also want you to be aware that the state does require that if you're selling used vehicles, you must have the word used or pre-owned in your ad. So don't forget about that. I'm assuming that you're going to be selling used or pre-owned vehicles, and New Mexico law is very clear. You have to have the word used or pre-owned in the ad. Let's talk about exporting vehicles. Maybe you're planning on selling all your vehicles at that corner lot that you have or on the highway or whatever. You can export vehicles to Mexico. So used pickups and vehicles can be exported to Mexico, but they have to go through the Santa Teresa port of entry only. So while pickups can be exported to the interior of Mexico, a variety of other types of vehicles can be exported to the border zone in New Mexico only through the Santa Teresa port. So please keep that in mind. If you ever have questions about exports when you're going into Mexico, you can call the Border Authority at 575-589-6501. Sales to minors. The legal age at which a person becomes competent to enter into a contract in New Mexico is 18. No person under the age of 18 can purchase or sell a vehicle in New Mexico without a parent, legal guardian, or other person that has legal custody, unless that person is defined as what's called an emancipated minor. An emancipated minor is any person 16 years of age or older who has entered into a valid marriage or on active duty with any of the U.S. Armed Services Divisions, or has received a declaration of emancipation from the Children's Court of the district of which he or she lives. So this is a pretty rare scenario, but if you have an emancipated minor, they must present their original or certified copy of their marriage certificate or their court order of emancipation as well. So do please keep that in mind. A contract to purchase a vehicle signed by anyone younger than 18 years of age other than an emancipated minor is invalid and may be voided. So if you sold a vehicle to a minor, they could release themselves from the sales contract and return that vehicle and recover the vehicle purchase, even though the vehicle was wrecked or damaged. So in a worst case scenario, you could sell a vehicle like a $5,000 motorcycle to some 17-year-old kid, and he signs all the documentation. He could drive that motorcycle down the road and wreck it, and the law would allow him to drag that damaged motorcycle back in, and you have to give him every single penny that he paid. And the reason for this, you would have no legal or financial recourse because you allowed someone less than 18 years of age to sign legally binding contracts. So unless your customer is an emancipated minor, you want to make sure that every one of your customers are at least 18 years of age. Off-site sales, I want to give you a reminder, all your retail sales activity by law must take place at your retail license location. However, as I discussed earlier in the very first unit of your course, you are allowed to participate in off-site sales, but you always have to submit the proper documentation in advance. So before you ever offer a vehicle or vessel for sale at a temporary off-site sale location, you must make sure that that is a legally sanctioned show, and they must be identified by signs, and all dealers of the same category must have been invited to that off-site show. But if you ever have questions about how to participate in a legally sanctioned off-site sale, you can call the Dealer License Bureau, and it's going to be 505-383-2316. I want to briefly cover emissions testing for Bernalillo County. Emissions testing is required for motor vehicles that are registered or commuting in Bernalillo County, okay? All motor vehicles less than 35 years old, up to 10,000 pounds of gross vehicle weight, must pass an emissions test every 2 years and at the change of ownership. Gas, electric, hybrid vehicles are required to be tested every 2 years as well. So this does apply to hybrids, and they can be tested at any certified air care station. Only dedicated electric vehicles and diesel vehicles are normally going to be the only vehicles that are exempt from emissions testing. Here you can see an emissions test certificate, and here is a list of emissions exemptions. Vehicles sold between licensed motor vehicle dealers, so you can sell your vehicle at the New Mexico Manheim, and you don't have to be current on emissions, but if you buy a vehicle at the New Mexico Manheim, you have to make sure it's current on emissions before you sell it if it's going to be registered in Bernalillo County or commuting in Bernalillo as well. So sales between licensed dealers would be exempt. Electric vehicles, vehicles 35 years or older, and vehicles less than 4 years of age, or vehicles that are never operated on roadways, such as agricultural implements and things like that. If you have any questions about the Albuquerque or Bernalillo County emissions testing programs, you can call 505-764-1110. Out-of-state VIN inspections. When you purchase a vehicle with an out-of-state title, the vehicle must pass a VIN inspection before it can be issued a New Mexico title. I want to repeat that very important information. When you purchase a vehicle with an out-of-state title, the vehicle must pass a VIN inspection before it can be issued a New Mexico title. And I'm sure you're aware, a lot of you vehicles that you purchase at dealer auctions in New Mexico will have out-of-state titles. And the reason for this, you might go in and buy vehicles at the New Mexico Manheim and realize the vehicles that you're buying there have titles from all over the country. So it's a very regular occurrence for out-of-state companies to sell their vehicles through the New Mexico Manheim. Like you could have some rental car agency out of Dallas, Texas, that gets 200 or 300 cars off of a 2-year rental program, and they might do some market study and realize the New Mexico Manheim is going a little bit higher than other dealer auctions. So they might ship 200 or 300 cars over to the New Mexico Manheim. So the day you go to the sale and buy vehicles at the New Mexico Manheim dealer auction, you might buy a bunch of vehicles that have Texas titles or Florida titles or California titles. So whenever you have an out-of-state title, which I do believe will be a very common scenario, then you'll need to have a vehicle VIN inspection, which is taken directly from the vehicle and not any other documentation. So you want to verify that information, and you would want to do that on the actual vehicle itself. So please keep that in mind. You're not just taking that information off of a title or a copy of the title. You're actually gaining that VIN information and documenting the VIN directly from the title itself. So you can become your own VIN inspector. The Dealer Licensing Bureau administers the Civilian Vehicle Identification Number Inspector Program, and certification classes are provided for employees of New Mexico motor vehicle dealers as well as for MVD employees and agents. So do please keep that in mind. But, applicants have to be sponsored by a licensed company like a dealer to attend and receive those VIN credentials. So maybe you want to get this inspection certification yourself, or if you want to send an employee, you can certainly do that. Have to pass a real quick background check and make sure that you're paid up on your taxes as well. If you want to become your own VIN inspector, which I strongly encourage you to do, 505-226-9333. Once again, that is 505-226-9333. Now we've completed this unit, I want to remind you, you can review this video, newmexicodealer.com. Just click on the videos link and you can scroll down and watch the corresponding video. Let's go ahead and move on to the next unit.